Listening, fill in the blanks.
Let's start.
Catches have not always been so healthy. Between 1940 and 1959, overfishing led to crashes in salmon populations so severe that in 1953 Alaska was declared a federal disaster area. With the onset of statehood, however, the state of Alaska took over management of its own fisheries, guided by a state constitution which mandates that Alaska's natural resources be managed on a sustainable basis. At that time, statewide harvests totaled around 25 million salmon. Over the next few decades, average catches steadily increased as a result of this policy of sustainable management, until, during the 1990s, annual harvests were well in excess of 100 million, and on several occasions over 200 million fish.
The primary reason for such increases is what is known as in-season abundance-based management. There are biologists throughout the state constantly monitoring adult fish as they show up to spawn. The biologists are in streamside counting towers, study sonar, watch from aeroplanes, and talk to fishermen. The salmon season in Alaska is not preset. The fishermen know the approximate time of year when they will be allowed to fish, but on any given day, one or more field biologists in a particular area can put a halt to fishing. Even sport filing can be brought to a halt. It is this management mechanism that has allowed Alaska salmon stocks, and, accordingly, Alaska salmon fisheries, to prosper, even as salmon populations in the rest of the United States are increasingly considered threatened or even endangered. The first hydroelectric power plants were much more dependable and efficient than the plants of the day that were fired by fossil fuels. This led to a rise in the number of small to medium-sized hydroelectric generating plants located wherever there was an adequate supply of falling water and a need for electricity. As demand for electricity soared in the middle years of the 20th century, and the effectiveness of coal and oil power plants improved, small hydro plants became less popular. The majority of new hydroelectric developments were focused on giant mega projects.
Artificial intelligence, AI, can already predict the future. Police forces are using it to map when and where crime is likely to occur. Doctors can use it to predict when a patient is most likely to have a heart attack or stroke. Researchers are even trying to give AI imagination so it can plan for unexpected consequences. Many decisions in our lives require a good forecast, and AI is almost always better at forecasting than we are. Yet for all these technological advances, we still seem to deeply lack confidence in AI predictions. Recent cases show that people don't like relying on AI and prefer to trust human experts, even if these experts are wrong.
Researchers from the European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN, in Geneva sent the neutrinos hurtling through an underground corridor toward their colleagues at the Oscillation Project, with emulsion tracing apparatus, OPERA, team 730 kilometers away in Gran Sasso, Italy. The neutrinos arrived promptly, so promptly, in fact, that they triggered what scientists are calling the unthinkable, that everything they have learnt, known or taught stemming from the last 100 years of the physics discipline, may need to be reconsidered.
The crisis was completely unexpected, but researchers believe it had nothing to do with impacts of fisheries. Rather, they contend, it was almost certainly the result of climatic shifts, prompted in part by cumulative effects of the El Niño/La Niña phenomenon on Pacific Ocean temperatures, culminating in a harsh winter in which huge numbers of salmon eggs were frozen. It could have meant the end as far as the certification process was concerned. However, the state reacted quickly, closing down all fisheries, even those necessary for subsistence purposes.
The 49th state to join the United States of America. In 1959, Alaska is fully 1/5 the size of the mainland 48 states combined. It shares, with Canada, the second longest river system in North America, and has over half the coastline of the United States. The rivers feed into the Bering Sea and Gulf of Alaska, cold, nutrient-rich waters, which support tens of millions of seabirds, and over 400 species of fish, shellfish, crustaceans, and mollusks. Taking advantage of this rich bounty, Alaska's commercial fisheries have developed into some of the largest in the world.
According to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, ADFNG, Alaska's commercial fisheries landed hundreds of thousands of tons of shellfish and herring, and well over 1 million tons of ground fish, cod, sole, perch and pollock, in 2000. The true cultural heart and soul of Alaska's fisheries, however, is salmon. Salmon, notes writer Susan Ewing in the Great Alaska Nature Fact Book, pump through Alaska like blood through a heart, bringing rhythmic, circulating nourishment to land, animals, and people. The predictable abundance of salmon allowed some native cultures to flourish, and dying spankers feed bears, eagles, other animals, and ultimately the soil itself. All 5 species of Pacific salmon, Chinook, or king, chum, or dog. A good supply of the right kind of ingenuity is essential, but it isn't, of course, enough by itself. We know that the creation of wealth, for example, depends not only on an adequate supply of useful ideas but also on the availability of other, more conventional factors of production, like capital and labor. Similarly, prosperity, stability and justice usually depend on the resolution, or at least the containment, of major political struggles over wealth and power. Yet within our economies, ingenuity often supplants labor, and growth in the stock of physical plant is usually accompanied by growth in the stock of ingenuity. And in our political systems, we need great ingenuity to set up institutions that successfully manage struggles over wealth and power.
Like, share, subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for further updates.